Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're talking about moving into the holiday season. Join us as we share traditions, funny stories, ways we prepare, tips for hosting, and more. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're talking about moving into the holiday season. And as we're recording this, we are 1 week from Halloween and 5 weeks from Thanksgiving. And we all know that Christmas and New Year's will be coming up very quickly after that. But today we're going to focus on Halloween and Thanksgiving. We're going to talk about traditions, funny stories, ways we prepare, tips for hosting, and more. Basically, it's a hodgepodge of all that starts swirling around a woman's brain at this time of year. Is that how you felt, Mindy and Julie?
Definitely hodgepodge is a great word.
I mean, my brain is so full right now. Like, I sent out a possible Thanksgiving dinner time text just this morning. Like, already those kinds of things are swirling around my brain.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I have an excitement for all of these holidays coming up like I have never had in my life. This is purely an answer to prayer because you guys know I struggled. No, this year I'm a new me. I don't know what changed other than years of prayer, and learning how to just be at rest. Not try so hard, managing expectations, whatever. But no, I'm excited. So I'll try to bring some of that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I always know that the excitement quickly can turn into overwhelm. So hopefully this episode will help people be excited, but also realize, there's going to be things that go wrong. There's going to be things that aren't perfect about it. And it happens to everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start out with the holiday traditions that you have enjoyed as a family, because I always like to hear what other people enjoy doing. And then you can pick and choose.
Yeah. We're only talking about Thanksgiving and fall here. So, I like to put up my tree on Thanksgiving weekend. That was not something that we always did, but now that's just become a tradition. And this year, my grandson will be here before Thanksgiving. So the tree may even go up earlier.
Oh, that'll be fun.
It may be a birthday tree celebration.
Yeah.
But I want to do it with him. So yeah, that's what we'll do. And I remember when I was young, married, we always did a craft when we were together on Thanksgiving weekend. Like it might be making a wreath for the front door or making my wreath for my window or a centerpiece or something. I just remember a late night run to the craft store, and that was always fun. So I'm going to try to do something like that this year. And then usually we start with a good holiday movie. Kick off the holiday movie watching on Thanksgiving weekend.
Now, what are your go-to movies, Julie?
Well, I used to love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on Thanksgiving weekend, but I can't watch that movie anymore.
Okay.
But, this isn't really a holiday movie, but we love to watch the Harry Potter series. So I can see that maybe starting on Thanksgiving weekend this year.
Oh, how fun.
It just feels Christmassy. And
it does.
That season. Yeah.
Well, I was backing it up maybe a little bit more and thinking about how I'm excited for Halloween. And I've gone back and forth with Halloween over the years. I never had a problem with Halloween growing up. My parents never had a problem with Halloween. Then when I was early married and having kids, there was kind of this push, don't celebrate Halloween. So then for years I had guilt associated with Halloween because I still wanted my kids to trick-or-treat. And every year it was a toss-up. Am I trick-or-treating? Am I not trick-or-treating? Then I finally just decided, you know what? We're a trick-or-treating family. We enjoy that. We are trick-or-treating. And so I was just thinking even yesterday how much I have enjoyed the tradition of trick-or-treating. Most of my kids' young lives, they've had a lot of extended family around. So we would usually go trick-or-treating with my brother and his kids that lived just up the street. And we would walk over to the next neighborhood and pick up my dad and his dog. And sometimes my mom would come. And it would be like a multi-generational trick-or-treating experience. And I was thinking as I was planning trick-or-treat for next week with my grandchildren, I was thinking how special it is, how much I enjoy the fact that my parents will still come along and Steve's parents will still come along. And Nick's parents are going to come down. There's going to be 10 adults walking around with 3 kids. and one dog with a costume on. But it's so fun. Like, I just really enjoy that evening. I enjoy the fact that we'll have a meal of chili, and then we will take pictures, and then we will set out to trick or treat together. And, some years when the kids are growing up, it was so cold they could barely hold their trick or treat bags. And other years their costumes were way too hot. You never know what the weather's going to be like, but it's a fun experience every year, and I really enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited about that as well, Marie. And it's neat as your kids move through seasons, your role changes for the holidays. And so, holding everything with a loose grip, because we're constantly evaluating, kind of like you guys, like, is this going to stay? Is this going to go? Do we need to adjust? Do we even like turkey on Thanksgiving? What do we want to do? Let's have fun. That's become our theme. We're going to have a house full. How can we make it easy and fun? And so those are the goals. I'm excited because we live in a smaller neighborhood now, but I'm in the role of being able to pass out candy. I don't have trick-or-treaters, but I love to be able to pass out candy to all the little kids that will come by. And I have a neighbor that invited me to a girls' night costume party, which I already have a great plan for my costume. I cannot wait. So I've never done that before, but that's going to be a lot of fun. And then honestly, the reason I'm so excited about all these holidays coming up is just, I don't know, I'm not so scared maybe to host a bunch of people. I think I've gotten over that. I'm used to it. I say I have enough space in my normal everyday life because I'm not, raising little kids, that then when people come, I'm excited about it. And so I really appreciate that space and that rest that I feel. And I don't have a lot of expectations on myself to provide absolutely everything for everyone. And so, like when Thanksgiving comes, something that we're going to start this year, it's neat that Julie mentioned doing a craft, because I think that's a piece that we're going to add in, is when we have a house full. Now, I learned this from my cousin Sarah, who currently has 2 little boys. And we were hanging out. We were all at my grandparents' house around my grandfather's bed one day. And so we're all just kind of in and out of his room, spending a lot of time with him. And she brought a table full of like pipe cleaners. And then she had Play-Doh, and she had all the little tools to like build with it. Well, I didn't realize, but while I was in with my grandfather for a long time, my husband and my 16-year-old sat at the table, at the craft table, and they worked with that Play-Doh. And they had so much fun. And I thought, this is what I need to do. We're going to have like coloring books and crayons. And we don't have little kids, but this is for the adults to be able to just kind of grab. So at any point, I'm going to have kind of a room that's set apart. And it's going to have the Play-Doh, and it's going to have, coloring books and crayons and some things that you could just walk in there and like pick up and put down. No pressure.
I know how that goes, Mindy.
And also I'm thinking a puzzle. So probably I'll just relegate my dining room to the playroom.
Right.
So also everyone has gotten excited. I had to delegate better. And so when people come to the house, they're now expecting to be basically given what side item they're going to make for a Thanksgiving meal. And so I will have all of the ingredients on hand beforehand. And then I always get, a dish, and I put all the ingredients and people in different sections of the house to build their side items. So it's become sort of like a craft.
Nice.
That everyone knows it's all hands on deck for Thanksgiving meal. And I just really appreciate that. So other than that, we try to take pictures. The trees are beautiful. So we try to get out for a lot of walks together as a family, getting outside of the 4 doors or the 4 walls of the house. Kind of helps when you have a house full too. So just playing.
Yeah. I hope my son will make the turkey again this year. Hint, Davis, if you're listening. He's made the turkey a couple different years, and that's such a big thing to not have to worry about. Like, he's good at the seasoning and like making it taste good, and I'm still on the buy a plastic bag and like do the butterball recipe on the back, which is not the same thing. So hint, Davis, if you want to make anything.
We were at the point, you guys know I've had a whole journey with the turkey. And we were at the point of saying, let's just have steak,
Hey, that's an option.
Yes. Because Julie, I think you mentioned steak before.
Yeah.
Well, so what happened is then my daughter spoke up and she was like, we're not going to have a turkey. And so then I was like, well, how about you guys make the turkey then? Because none of us really care for we don't have to have it. So then somehow that became Joey's responsibility.
Okay. Hey, these guys are good at making turkeys.
This is so good. We're all super thrilled with this. And so my kids were all home this past weekend for Bryce's birthday. And I looked at Joey. I was like, hey, so turkey again this year?
He's stuck now.
Joey doesn't know it. It is a forever deal. But
it is now a new tradition. Well, one thing I was thinking about traditions this week was we always had a pumpkin carving tradition. And I really enjoyed that with my kids. But one of my college girls said, are you going to carve pumpkins with Pepper and Chapel? Those are my grandchildren. I said, no. I said, I feel like that's for their parents to do. Like, I was thinking about traditions, like you can really get to the point where you're okay with just like passing that on. Like, I don't need to, at least at this point, maybe I'll feel different in 10 years. At this point, I don't want to carve any more pumpkins. Like, I feel like I've had the huge table covered with pumpkin seeds and pumpkin guts and all the knives and all the pumpkins. And that was really fun while we did it. But I don't have a desire for that particular tradition to be sponsored by me going forward. And I guess I was thinking about how it's okay, especially with grandchildren, to just pick and choose your most fun traditions. And you're not responsible for carrying them all
and the least messy.
Yes, and the least messy.
Yeah.
And one thing I've noticed is that traditions shift. So, we always carved pumpkins, and I think people do an awesome job carving. But my college girls, they painted their pumpkins this year, and in college they had pumpkin painting parties, and like painting pumpkins is kind of a new twist on the carving. I don't know if it's less messy or not. Like, I think it depends on the age of who's painting or what kind of paint you're using. But I think it seems like a fun new way to incorporate an older tradition.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty cute ideas with that recently. And I thought, I might try that because I don't know. I did carve a pumpkin for a couple of years after my kids were gone because I was like, darn it, I'm still going to do this. But I don't know. I don't know if I'll do it this year. But you did bring back a lot of memories about Halloween. I wasn't thinking about those traditions. But like you, Marie, we were either Halloween was on the table and then it was off the table and then it was on the table. And we finally landed that we were a Halloween family. And I used to feel a little embarrassed, like when you'd ask my kids what their favorite holiday was, it was Halloween. Yeah. I was like, should it be? So, but it just was. I mean, my daughter ended up getting engaged on Halloween because that was meaningful to her. Yeah. We had bonfires, like that was just a big tradition. So it is fun to kind of think about shifting, Mindy, like to focus on your house being a place where people come now and giving out the candy. Like I was usually not ever home because I was out, or hosting a party or something. So, it's kind of fun to think about how you could make that more special.
Yes.
Right. All right. So these questions that we're talking about today come from a list of questions that Julie got from her church. So we're just kind of going through them at random. So the first one we did talk about were some like family traditions, but what was another question that leapt out at you? Mindy, do you have one?
I really appreciated this question, especially after what we just talked about, all the fun with everybody, both in your house and out of your house. There's a question that said, is there a way you find time to be alone during the holiday season to reflect or just spend time with the Lord? This is a great balancing question to all that we just talked about. And I find that this element is pretty crucial in being able to have fun with everybody. And so something that I value is time by myself in the morning before everybody wakes up. And so I have some early risers in the house. And so I might have to adjust where my time alone is at to make sure I kind of protect that. Because I've noticed if I can just have some moments to myself to kind of slowly wake up, have some time to journal, drink my coffee before I'm engaging in conversation and hosting. That really helps. Another thing is, honestly, I kind of sneak out of the house here and there. And I have like a longer path in my neighborhood I could take, or I have a short path. And some days, if there's a lot of interaction with everyone, I have learned that the most restful way for me to recover is actually not going to my room to lay down, but it's getting outside by myself and going for a little walk, because it kind of just releases, anything, and gives me that time to move if I need to kind of increase my heart rate a little bit, but just quiet. I just need to sprinkle seasons and moments of quiet throughout the day. And I have to actually be very intentional so I don't get so overstimulated that then I'm kind of a grump. I really don't want to get to that point. I want to enjoy, because it's so insulated. There's a lot of pressure. People have traveled a long way, maybe, and you just feel, it kind of lends to be a little stressful here and there. So if somehow you can,
you think?
I know there's so much pressure. Have fun at every moment.
Yeah.
So stealing away is one of my hacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that, Mindy. I know that you've talked about that in past episodes, and you really are very intentional and good at doing that.
Yeah. Right. And there's no better time to be outside hiking than in the fall, because it's just so beautiful.
Yeah. What's a question that stood out to you, Julie?
Well, the question was there a difficult holiday because of loss or challenging circumstances that ended up being meaningful because of the way you spent that holiday? And I would say last Thanksgiving, it fell 11 days after John's death and only 4 days after his funeral. So you would think, we're just gonna miss this holiday, But my son said, why don't you come to my house? Like, I'll host. And so I so appreciated that, because instead of trying to recreate Thanksgiving in our house with just this empty chair to focus on, everything about that day was like it had never been before. Like, new setting, different dishes, not even the same old dishes, not even the same old glasses, the different decorations, even some different foods. Like we had a lot of the traditions, but I had some new stuff that I'd never had, So I think it was just important to change it up in every way possible. And that really, really, really helped me because I wasn't comparing it to every other year, it was just a new start. So my son was over the other night and he just kind of threw out, hey, what about Thanksgiving? He goes, we could do it over here again. And I was like, yes.
Oh, that's wonderful, Julie.
I just jumped on it. I didn't even, and then I kind of said, well, if it's not too much trouble, I don't want you to stress out. Then I started thinking about it, like what a big thing it is to host. But
right. Did he really mean that?
Yeah. I said, I will bring all the food even. Like, I don't care.
Right.
I want to come to you. And so it really, really was a very meaningful Thanksgiving, and not anything like I expected it to be. It wasn't sad. Like, we enjoyed our time. So I'm glad that he's up for that again.
Praise the Lord.
That was really a testimony to God's carrying you through that hard time, even when you shared that, as you were going through things last fall. And I'm glad that it's kind of a mini tradition.
Yeah. In my grief share this week, we were just talking about, I don't even know what we were talking about, but I just remember Johnny Erickson. She talks a lot on the videos, and she said when she was young, she loved jigsaw puzzles. And one time her sister just upset the table and the pieces went flying everywhere. And she said, like, you try to look under the couch, behind the curtain, under the rug, and try to get every piece, but you just can't. She said, like, there's 1,000 pieces on the floor. And she used that as an analogy, like, don't try to rebuild because there are missing pieces. Like, don't try to recreate exactly what you had, because there are missing pieces and you can't do it with missing pieces. Like, you have to make something new. And I love visuals, and that stuck with me. That you'll be disappointed if you try to build that puzzle and then there's just a big hole in the middle, Yeah.
No. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of, I don't know where I saw this Instagram reel, and I really wish I would have screenshotted what it said, but it was basically what I took from it was that we try to create these traditions for our kids. Like we have to do it the same way every year. And that's going to create stability and love and family tradition and like all this hallmark feeling around it. And the Instagram reel was basically saying the ones we remember are the ones that were different. Like we might have nostalgic feelings around traditions, but the ones that stick out in our memory, something was different about it. And so one of the questions that stuck out to me was which Thanksgiving stands out to you most in your memory? And so one is that we once ate at a restaurant with my grandparents in Buffalo. I don't know why we ate at a restaurant that year. I think there was extended family. Maybe my grandmother didn't want to cook, but we ate at a fancy restaurant for Thanksgiving. I think I might have been about 10, and that one sticks out in my memory. Even though we spent every Thanksgiving probably with them, that one in particular sticks out. Another Thanksgiving that sticks out in my memory is I think my parents had gone to Hilton Head with my brother, and maybe there was a reason that there weren't other, like my sister's in-laws might have been busy, and maybe my in-laws had gone up to see Steve's brother. I'm not sure, but it was just my sister, her husband, and her 3 kids, me, my husband, and our 5 kids for Thanksgiving one year. And it was, I think, one of the first few times that I had to cook a turkey myself because like no grandparents were around. And that Thanksgiving still sticks out in my mind because, again, it was so different. It wasn't how we usually celebrated. And then this other one always sticks out in my mind. And it's funny, and I actually had to look it up. So it's a day after Thanksgiving story. So one time we went to the movies when I was growing up, the day after Thanksgiving. And it sticks out in my mind because it was so unusual. But in my mind, it's also a fun Thanksgiving tradition. So this is how easily our minds can play tricks. But I think I must have been a sophomore in college because I looked up the movie. And I have such fond memories of this day. But the movie that we saw, I had to look it up and share because I'm telling you, you can have a fond memory with just about anything. So we went to see, this was in 1991, we went to see Cape Fear. And so I thought, what was that movie about? I remember being terrified at it. It says a convicted rapist seeks vengeance on the lawyer who defended him by stalking and terrorizing the lawyer's family. The family's already troubled dynamic is further complicated by the ex-convict's campaign of terror. And it says it's a
Happy Thanksgiving.
It says it's a psychological thriller. And I remember that is still such a fun memory of me doing this with my family. Like if I was a sophomore in college, then the youngest one is 5 years younger than me. So we were all like high school to college, and we went the day after Thanksgiving. I remember my parents. I think one of the fun things was that afterwards we all talked about like when we were scared and how we were surprised, and like it was a great bonding experience. But that Thanksgiving sticks out in my mind as a fun one from my childhood.
Oh my goodness.
I remember
hilarious.
One Christmas night. I know we're talking about Christmas, but the link here is the movie. 2 other couples called us and said, "Hey, do you want to go see a movie?" And I just remember thinking, no, I do not go see movies on Christmas night. I'm not leaving my house, and we ended up doing it. And I still remember the movie we saw. It was Russia House with Sean Connery. And I just felt so weird doing it, but it was really fun. Like I never remember what movie I saw when, but I do that one. And I think we might have just had one. She was a baby, so my mom just came over and put her to bed. Like we weren't really missing out on like
family
time so much. Yeah. But but I guess these couples had just grown up like this was a normal thing. But to me, that was an all new experience.
Oh,
so what that says to me, especially as you have kids leaving the house, your traditions are going to change because your in-laws are going to want to, have them at a certain time. Maybe you can't have Thanksgiving at the same time of day you always have, or maybe you don't get to do this certain tradition the day after Thanksgiving. But it's comforting to me to know that even if you switch up your traditions, those are kind of the ones that stick out in your memory longer. I mean, how can I possibly remember a movie from 1991? But it was such a bonding experience that I still remember it to this day. Like, so maybe be comforted by if it has to be different this year, it can still be really memorable and good.
Yes.
Well, you guys have to know, I have to talk about my worst Thanksgiving ever because it is the one Thanksgiving cemented in all of our minds that everyone will come to the table and also talk about again this year. Like it is the one day we are bonded because everything went wrong. So the day started. Bryce had planned a father-son flag football game, which he always did. I started making like the casseroles and the sides, like first thing early in the morning. First casserole, I'm opening my first lid and I slice 3 fingers like badly on the lid. First can.
Yeah.
So I'm like already out of the game. Like I can feel my heartbeat in my fingers. I'm having a hard time like even getting it to stop bleeding, like I've got it wrapped tight. I'm holding it up and I'm trying to do things with the right hand.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this, but when the guys came home pretty much simultaneously while that happened to me, Jacob, who was at that time in like first or second grade, was going for the ball. A teenager that was relegated to a wheelchair somehow ended up rolling over Jacob and landing on top of Jacob. And they had to lift like this 150-pound boy in a wheelchair off of my child. So that happened. And then that day, progressively, the turkey never cooked. Like it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I had invited neighbors that didn't have a place to go. We had all our Kansas family. My kids were little, running around the kitchen, and I had one hand to use. And so I kept trying to like hold it together. Okay, well, let's just all eat sides first, as we wait for the turkey to cook because it's still not done. So we make, we muster up. We're excited about the sides.
Yeah.
I have no other meat to grab at this point. Like lesson learned too.
Have a bag of chicken nuggets on hand.
Yeah. Nothing else to offer in the way of protein. It's all casseroles. A couple hours later, still not done. We decide to muster up the excitement. Okay, let's eat dessert. By that night, the turkey had still not cooked internally. I still don't know what happened. I have some ideas, but I won't share them. And basically, I wanted to take the turkey carcass out and shoot it up with a gun. Like I wanted to like put it on a rope and drag it behind the van. But it was like the next day I had to go get my fingers glued. I should have gone to get stitches. I still have scars. But that is the one day like we crack up. It was so awful. It was so terrible. Thankfully, Jacob did not have internal damage because his situation was even rough. I mean, I just can't make this stuff up, but that's the one day we all remember.
Mindy, I still think about that story every Thanksgiving, and I wasn't even there.
Every time we open a can of green beans.
I used to have a visceral reaction, like my heart rate would start to rise as I thought about it. But I think I'm healed.
Yeah. Well, that's a Thanksgiving that sticks out in your memory because something was different about it. It went wrong, and now it's a tradition to tell that story.
Yeah. One of my favorite Thanksgiving memories also had something that happened while we were there. And we tell this story. My favorite Thanksgiving memory was we went to my cousin's house in Louisville, and they lived out on like a little mini farm. They had a barn with horses. They had dogs and cats. It was just like a kid's dream. And we had all 3 of our kids with us, and my cousin, it was just extremely fun, and she was a gourmet cook. So you were getting the whole ball of wax here. You were getting great food, fun. And I just remember like she just stops in the middle of cooking and she puts on this music for the hokey pokey, and we all had to do the hokey pokey. Like I have pictures of us doing the hokey pokey in her kitchen. I was like, who does this? But it was just really fun. And the kids would ride the golf cart and go feed the horses and the chickens. It was just so fun. But while I'm inside having fun, my cousin, who is like a teenager, is driving my son, Andrew, around on the golf cart. Well, no seatbelt, no nothing, So he starts it up and Andrew goes flying off. And Andrew was probably 3. And so he comes in crying. My cousin felt terrible, and he had this huge knot on his head, like a scab. It had like taken his skin off, and he still has that knot today. It never went away. And so every time Andrew gets his haircut, he has to tell the lady, like, don't forget the knot. Like, it's huge.
Wow.
Oh,
maybe his head was still so soft at age 3 that it never went back down.
I guess. I mean, it was just so we laugh about, like great parenting there, Mom.
That was before seatbelts were mandatory.
I know. But it was a good Thanksgiving, but we also had an injury that's still carrying on today, apparently.
Oops.
Yeah.
But I forgot the most fun thing was after dinner, my cousin had planned a road rally, which kind of it's like a scavenger hunt. He called it a road rally, but apparently he had worked on this for months, and this was pre-iPhone, pre-GPS, so he had written out all these clues, and you had to follow your odometer, because we didn't know the town. Mm-hmm. So it was like drive, 0.76 miles and take a right at the barn. And then, and you had to find all these clues, and he paired you up not with your spouse, not, like you were with a cousin, maybe that you didn't know that well or whatever. So I'll never forget riding in the car with my cousin and having to work together and get these clues. And then the first one back with all the answers was the winner. And he had a prize. And they were just fun people, like they went the extra mile. So that was just a great memory.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was thinking about another question that was, do you have a way to celebrate holidays with your friends or neighbors or community? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about Friendsgiving. I haven't had a Friendsgiving every year, but I've had one several years. And I was thinking about them, and they've pretty much always looked different. Like some years, there's been a big table of women and then a separate table of men. Sometimes it was small enough that all the people fit around one table. Sometimes it was church friends. Sometimes it was community friends. Like it just has looked different. It hasn't always looked the exact same way. But I think Friendsgiving is a great tradition. Like it really has provided some meaningful evenings in my life, and you can make it as simple or as elaborate as you want. Usually I have everybody bring something, and then I might provide them meat or something like that. But one thing they all have in common is you don't have to be a great cook to do this, because I am not a great cook. And I remember one of the first ones I had was I cooked the ham in a crock pot. It was so dry. So horribly, horribly dry when I served it. Like it just was terrible. And like other people bring their best. It's like, I'm bringing my mother's wonderful stuffing. I'm bringing this, and I'm like, I'll provide the meat. And then I think I maybe bought a turkey from Honey Baked Hammer. I just only remember the ham part was I made it in the crock pot, and it was so dry. And later afterwards, when people left, Steve and I said, my goodness, that ham was so embarrassing, like so bad. We laughed, but I say that to comfort people out there. Like it was still a fun evening. Like you don't have to be the greatest cook ever to have people. I don't think one person there probably even remembers the ham. It's just a funny part to me.
I was going to say, I was probably there, and
you were, that. Julie. Yeah. But just the fun of gathering people in your house, and then also trying all their different recipes, and it doesn't have to look the same every year. And so I don't know, I encourage people to maybe give Friendsgiving a try. It can be really fun.
Those were fun. I have good memories of being there too. One thing that we did that was kind of a community thing was on Halloween, and we always did a bonfire, and we even did this till our kids were in college and out of college. And it evolved over time. Like it was friends, it was neighbors, it was church friends, it was kids' parents, friends that were our kids' friends, and then their parents would come. And it eventually evolved into costumes, even costumes for the adults. And those are just some of my favorite memories, like, because we obviously don't do that anymore. But that was always kind of the highlight of my fall.
I remember those with a lot of fondness, Julie.
Yeah.
I remember them because there were the years that my kids were old enough to trick or treat by themselves. And I didn't want to just stay home and hand out candy. And we lived on the top of a big hill. I was going to get like 5 trick or treaters. And I would always be like, what are we going to do on Halloween? And then be like, oh, the Kings are having their thing. Let's go to the Kings. So again, that was like a really great thing. I have really fond memories of that.
Yeah. And we lived on the top of a big hill, so we didn't have to worry about passing out candy either. So we could just go to the backyard and have fun.
Nice.
Right. What's another question that stood out to you, Mindy?
All right. There's a question. It says, is there a special heirloom or funny decoration you display for the holidays? A decoration that I am now bringing out closer to the beginning of October is our thankful tree. Now, this used to go up like the day after Halloween, and it's basically just some sort of tree. It has changed shape throughout the years. So now it's actually, I use my tall, skinny Christmas tree. I just pull that out, and then we have leaves that we have cut out of construction paper. And then we string like twine through it and hang it all over the tree. And what's been really meaningful is that we've kept leaves from past years. And so every year that we pull them out, we're reading the things that we were thankful for from years ago. And it's just so sweet because there's still leaves where Jacob and Nathaniel couldn't spell things correctly. And those are just our favorite. And so we see different kind of blessings in different seasons from long ago. Those come out and they're on the tree. And so we just love it so much. So we try to add a few through the season, but really like we're not making a leaf every day or anything like that. But when people come over to the house, we like to have guests make them and stuff like that too. So we still have, guests leaves from when we had friends over or family came to town or something like that. So that thankful tree has been a tremendous blessing to our home.
It's an awesome tradition. I love that you incorporate guests because then those are just such good memories, especially having lived in different places. Then you can remember all those people and
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you have saved those over the years. That's such a special way to bring out memories.
And it's just a reminder of God's faithfulness when you look back at maybe something you were worried about or praying over and how he provided.
Yeah, there's certain things that, I read them and it's my own handwriting and I just think, wow, he really brought us through that season. It takes me right back to when I wrote it and what I was really trying to see. I was praying for something he had not yet answered, but I was like trying to build my faith on him to just trust him through it. And he provided. And so it really builds gratitude to look back and remember what God brought us through.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Julie, what's one that stuck out to you?
All right. It says, if you have grandchildren, what do you do to celebrate with them? So I remember kind of the first Thanksgiving that Ezra could sit at the table, not a baby. And it was just fun. Like, I get to add a new place to the table. And I made like a big placemat for him, like a drawing of a turkey, and put crayons on the table. And I just remember like the whole family ended up coloring at the table. And that was really fun, and it kept him at the table longer and, engaged with him. So I'm just always looking for ways to create, fun memories. And so this year, I don't get my grandkids at Thanksgiving or Christmas, but my daughter called and said, what if we came the week leading up to Thanksgiving? Because that's your birthday. And she knows how much I love my birthday. So she goes, isn't that really better than Thanksgiving anyway? And I was like, Molly. It kind of is. Yes.
Yeah.
So they'll be here for my birthday. And she's actually just going to come with just Ezra and leave the baby behind. And I was like, she said, she asked me, do you want me to bring Ezra? And I was like, you cannot ask a grandmother if you want their grandson there, yes, I'd love to just see you too, but no, you have to bring Ezra. So I've already started thinking like, we're going to go to Zoo Illuminations, the Christmas light.
Yeah.
Because they'll already be up in November,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we'll have my birthday, Thanksgiving, and Christmas all wrapped into one. And, like I said, I don't usually decorate my tree that early, but I'm going to have to. Like, it's going to go up while he's here. They've already asked for a golf cart ride to look at all the Christmas lights and hot chocolate. And so, our neighborhood is kind of nuts. So as far as decorations, so I know they'll be up by November 22nd. And then I thought, one year we made little gingerbread houses, and he likes hands-on. He likes baking. So we may decorate cookies or do something like that. He loves books, so I'm going to get out my Christmas books. And I think he watched Frosty for the first time last year. So we'll probably introduce a new Christmas movie. And
that'll be such a fun week, Julie.
Yeah, and we're letter writing, so I'm gonna ask him some things like what he wants to do, or kind of trying to kind of get them excited for like maybe what we're going to do that week. So I'm looking forward to it.
I love that. One of the things I was thinking about that didn't mean a lot to me growing up, but means more to me year after year is the food associated with Thanksgiving. So I'm sure you've seen like those memes where I cooked all of this food and all my kid ate was a roll. You know, basically like I could have just not even bothered. But I guess encouragement to people that are cooking, like sometimes it takes a long time for people to appreciate that, because even now my kids will say, we don't even really like Thanksgiving food that much. And I think I probably felt that way too. But like one of the questions was, is there a special or unusual recipe or food your family always has at Thanksgiving? And I was thinking about my mom. I never liked stuffing growing up. Like it grossed me out. Like I couldn't understand why she loved it so much. And it is her favorite Thanksgiving food. Like she could just have stuffing. She'd always say that. And it was stuffing, not dressing. That's different. And so she would make it from scratch with the bread and like the stuff from the inside of the turkey. And like it was from scratch. And she would put this big, to me, it was like not soggy, but like moist, just bunch of stuff in a bowl in front of you with an odd smell, you know, on the table. I would take, if we had to take some, maybe I'd take a tablespoon and then, you know, at some point they don't make you take any anymore. So you just never touch it again. But in recent years, I have really developed an appreciation for the stuffing. And it's like, I want to smell that again. I want to eat that again. On a regular day, I would never think, oh, I really crave some stuffing. But there's something about the food. I don't like pumpkin pie in general. Like I never think, well, I could really go for some pumpkin pie. But on Thanksgiving, I will have a piece of pumpkin pie. Like there are just certain Thanksgiving foods that bring back nostalgia and love and memories. And so I don't really know exactly how this will work with my kids, but I think at some point, the smells and textures and tastes of traditional Thanksgiving food will become meaningful to them, even if it's not how they eat every other day of the year. And it's part of building a tradition.
Yeah, that is so true. Because I remember such fond memories of going to my grandmother's for both Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it was everybody brought the same thing every year. You know, like this aunt brought this. And my mom's thing to bring was sweet potatoes. And so today that is still my favorite part of the meal. And that's if I'm going somewhere, like when I go to Andrew's, I will be bringing the sweet potatoes because I want them to be the right ones, you know, like,
yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just so much of Thanksgiving. Like I told you, one year we did steak and scallops because it was my birthday and we could, and it was great. And it was one of those standout, but, I think probably the only reason I like Thanksgiving food is because of the nostalgia. You know, like it's not something I don't have to have turkey, but I feel weird when we don't, you know?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I have to say our favorite thing this year, we're just really celebrating. Like this will be our 4th year in this house. And the fact that we just have had the continuity in the same place, having the same people and the same foods just brings a lot of joy. So I truly love where we are this season. I know how to decorate the house. Now I can make it more fun. So each year we're able to kind of adjust, you know, that now that we've been in this house. And I know you guys are in new houses too. And so you understand what I mean. Like just if you're in a new space, it takes a few seasons to kind of get, you know, used to your space and how to use it and where people sit and what the best setup is. And so I appreciate that I'm not starting new with where people sit. I know where they sit. So it just frees me up to then just have fun because I just want to be the fun house in a good way.
All right, listeners, we hope that you've gotten some ideas, some encouragement, that you've laughed a little bit, and that we've helped you to look forward to the holidays that are coming up. We think we're going to do another episode like this just for Christmas and New Year's because there's a lot you can share just about those 2 holidays. But we definitely wish you a happy Halloween and a happy Thanksgiving. You can find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast, or you can email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
All right, I'm a fan of a light bulb.
Okay.
This
Only
is funny
in
because
midlife can you be a fan of a light bulb.
Light bulbs.
that's right,
Yes.
right. Well, Marie, I love your gas lamps. Like Marie has gas lamps on her exterior, and I just have one hanging lamp. I don't have them on each side of my door. And I thought about changing that to gas, but it's like I don't want to pay for the pipe and the monthly bill and the light. I'm just, not doing that. So I found this flicker flame bulb, and I'm like, I know what you're thinking. I think flicker bulbs are hideous normally, but I saw this on Instagram and I thought, wow, this looks pretty realistic. So I just ordered them, and they came while I was in London. So my mom got all excited, and she had Andrew come put them in for me. So when I drove up, they'd be on. And I guess from a distance, well, actually, my glass in my lamp is a little bit frosted, so you don't see like a bulb. You just see it looks like a moving flame.
Yeah,
yeah, but it's not that flicker. It's like a moving flame. Like I can't describe it. Like I've never seen one kind of made like this. Like I'm looking at the picture of it now. So if you haven't, I don't know that I'd want them inside in a chandelier where you'd see the bulb, but certainly for exterior lighting, they are perfect. So and they come in both the, like the small chandelier base and a regular, because I think mine is a regular base. So you can get them either one.
Oh, that's cool, Julie. I definitely want to drive by and see that.
Yeah, so I got them off Amazon, and they came 6 for $36.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Are they LED?
I feel like they have to be because of the style of the there's no filament. It's like this flat thing, and the flame kind of goes up and down on it. It's really cool.
Yeah. I have 2 outdoor lights that would be perfect.
Especially going into the dark season,
Yes.
Yeah, so I just leave it on all the time so it's on by dark, and stays on late. But I was worried about it, like cheesy. But no, it doesn't.
Great.
Oh, I trust your judgment.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll put a link to that in our show notes. Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
I'm a fan of a product that I found at TJ Maxx recently, and it's the Faux Real Touch Garland. Now I have bought this stuff before, but I feel like it just gets better and better every year. And this year, recently, I found, I think it's by Aspen, and I've even seen some balsam products in there. So like you can find, it's hit or miss, of course, it's TJ Maxx, but you can find some really great products at a discounted price. So I got some Aspen fir this year, and I'm adding that to my mix. Oh my goodness, it is beautiful. And so, I mean, they have Real Touch wreaths, garland, sprays, like there's so much right now. So I'm going to TJ Maxx like once a week to kind of check out what they have, because once you buy the stuff, I mean, you could use it years and years and years.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of the Real Touch.
Yes,
Christmas decor.
I think it said Real Touch on it last year. I bought some for my staircase, and I was so pleased with it. I felt like very realistic, and it wasn't dropping needles every time I went up and down the stairs.
Yes. So. And it's soft. If you remember the old fake garlands, like I was all cut up, and you're having to like adjust and pull apart the branches every year. And it's just, it was awful. This stuff, amazing.
Oh, okay. That's great.
Yeah. Because I've seen it on Amazon. Like a lot of people on Instagram were talking about it, but it's not cheap, so maybe
it's not. So even just to give you an idea, TJ Maxx prices, my Aspen fir garland, one strand was $50.
Okay.
So I felt that I was making an investment, but that it was worth the investment. It looks so good, and I'm going to have it for a long time. So,
All right. This week, I'm a fan of a movie that Julie might remember, we tried to see this, but it had already left the theaters. The Long Game, the golf movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love a good inspirational sports movie, and The Long Game is on Netflix right now. And it's based on a true story. It tells the tale of 5 Mexican-American caddies in the 1950s who were banned from playing at the all-white country club where they worked. And undeterred by discrimination, the young men built their own golf course in the desert and taught themselves to play. And they eventually formed their own high school golf team and went on to win the 1957 Texas State High School Golf Championship. And it was a really good movie. Like, it was long. So Steve and I watched it over a couple nights. But I enjoyed it. And I don't know, you just can never have enough just feel good, inspirational stories. And then at the end, they tell you like what those guys went on to do for careers and things like that. So it was real interesting.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll have to.
Yeah, so you can watch it for free now on Netflix.
Well, I'll have to get Netflix again.
Oh, okay. All right, you guys. Well, I enjoyed this episode about fall. I'm excited to go into the holiday season, and I know we'll be talking more about it.
And this was so fun.
We'll be talking about Christmas soon.
Yes.
That's right.
Soon enough.
That's right.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
Okay. Sounds great. Bye.
Bye. We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.